Well, it seems like just yesterday we started the season, but in this condensed season 18 of the Absolute Beginners Formula Neagle season, we have arrived at the final round. Greg Seitz has won 3 of the 4 rounds, but Lee Anderson was able to hold him off 2 weeks ago in Barcelona. Can we see another winner today, or will Greg put that capital C in his championship? From Silverstone, this is the Global SimRacing Channel's 5th and final round coverage of the Absolute Beginner League's Formula Neagle Season 18 Championship. And you can see all the simulated Skippy action, which includes iRacing's new damage model, right here on GSRC. Just outside of London at the Premier English Racing Facility. Welcome to Silverstone. Filling in for Soup today, I'm Adam Young, and I guess filling in for me is Samuel Ryman. Sean Ambrose has director duties armed with cameras provided by Dougie Beer. We're coming off of Barcelona where the racing was as intense as we thought it might be. Greg Seitz, your 3-time race winner this season, caught up in action on the first lap and had to fight his way back to the front. He only came up a few tenths of a second short to Lee Anderson, who ends Seitz's winning streak. For today's event, we've traveled up through France in the English Channel, and we find ourselves at Silverstone, a longer track and one of the more technical these guys will have faced this season, but still plenty of opportunities to see some more draft battles. Let us tell you a little bit about Silverstone in today's track guide.
Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 3 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 18 turns along 3.19 miles. That comes out to 5.13 kilometers in metrics, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher-powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the high-speed straights and corners and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is most definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. However, don't discount the first couple corners in this latest iteration of the track. Abbey and Farm often require a greatly balanced car and some serious bravery if you're side-by-side. Corners such as Village, Brooklyn, Stowe, and Vale see the majority of overtaking action, but in cars with less horsepower, expect the draft to offer other opportunities. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting.
Sam, I'd probably rate this track second to the technicality of Oran Park just a few races ago on this season's calendar. I mean, you don't have a lot of tight corners in the Skip Barber, but you definitely have a lot of high-speed corners that you have to just nail just right. Tell us about Silverstone now from your own point of view.
Yeah, well, thanks, Adam. Our viewers can see the track map up on screen here, about 3.2 miles, 5.1 kilometers around. And as you mentioned, it is quite a bit twisty, especially since they reconfigured the Grand Prix circuit about 10 years ago. That's the configuration that we are racing on today. However, it still has some iconic sections of the old racetrack, but parts that are very fast. Cops Corner, Hannah Straight, notably, still leads down into the Stowe turn where Michael Schumacher had a very hard crash in Formula One all the way back in 1999. Of course, the nice thing about this being sim racing is drivers don't usually get injured. You never know with force feedback nowadays. But hopefully we won't see too many torn up cars today because we got our fair share of that last time out at Barcelona. So I think hopefully this track will put on a good race for us today.
Yeah, and I think it will. I mean, it definitely looks like it's going to be a fun one out there as qualifying's going on right now here for the race. Greg is on the provisional poll here so far. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. But let's go ahead and take a look at the point standings here right now. And, well, the driver's standing, it's still in play. Lee Anderson winning last week kept him in the hunt. But without any kind of bonus points, mind you. Greg Seitz must finish 8th or better today to clinch the championship. Now, you do get a bonus point for leading a lap, a bonus point for running the fastest lap in the race, and here's the critical one, a bonus point for starting the race in the top 3, which I think for Greg here for today is going to be pretty close to a lock. David Burns and Christian Cabana, they're in a dogfight for 4th position in the point standings, but at least at this point, we're looking now at about 7 minutes until we start the race. Neither one of them are here today, so we'll have to see how that's going to jumble up the point standings overall. On the F2 side of things, well, Sondre Angen, he's pretty much wrapped it up here for this season. He's been just dominant on the F2 side of things, and 2nd through 5th though still in play, so we still have quite a bit to look after for there. And I'll tell you, just looking kind of at the board right now, the only one I do not see on the driver list here for this morning is going to be John Torpy. So Gyros, Tempest, and Podchek, they'll be going after it here for today. Hey, Sam, go ahead and tell us what the race is going to be like here for this afternoon with our race details.
Well, the key line here is that second row. It is round 5 of 5, the final race of the season. So as you mentioned, those championships will be finalized in about an hour's time. This is season 18 of the Absolute Beginners Formula Neagle Cup, which takes place in the Skip Barber open wheel race cars. 40-minute race, unusual for open-wheeled road course racing, for it to be a timed race rather than a lap-limited one. But that's part of the fun around here, considering that there's limited fuel and these drivers will be forced to make one stop during the race. You're probably not going to want tyres during that stop if you just want to have a quick splash and go and get back out there. If you get 17 incident points, you will be disqualified. Your car will disappear from the server, and we will have to button and explain to the viewers who just joined what happened. Fortunately, that doesn't happen too many times. What does happen a lot is Greg Seitz qualifies on pole, and right now, as we're watching qualifying on screen, that's how things are looking.
Yeah, pole by a healthy margin, as he just now set a 25.5, which is about 0.8 of a second faster than what Lee Anderson has been able to put down here so far. In practice, he was almost a second faster than Lee Anderson. But as you know, Sam, the race, during the race with these cars, the draft is going to be the great equalizer here today.
Yeah, and you mentioned the top 3 qualifiers get that bonus point. So if Lee Anderson can't get pole, he needs to try and qualify in the top 3, which he's doing quite handily right now. He's sitting on the 226.3. Granted, that's 0.8 back of the pole time, but the driver 4th place right now is over second behind him, Peter Huston down there in 4th place. So I think Lee is looking good for that bonus point. That will help him out. But Greg Seitz has been virtually unbeatable this season. He won the first 3 races, and in the 4th race he got damage. I think everyone got a bit of damage from the turn 1 incident. It sent him back in the pack a bit, and he still charged his way back up to second. So it would really take a disaster for things to not go Greg's way today. Particularly, you mentioned, Adam, he's got to finish in the top 8. Well, typically on iRacing, what we see is as seasons wear on, the field sizes get a little bit smaller, and that is the case today. It's not too small. We have 15 drivers signed up, but the problem there for Lee Anderson is that, if we get any kind of attrition at all, Greg Seitz could have trouble and still salvage an 8th place finish, and that would still give him the championship.
Exactly, and that's as we saw last time out there in Barcelona. I mean, he definitely has the pace to be able to do something like that should push come to shove. But at least right now, it looks like he'll start on the pole and hopefully be able to get clear. But it's one thing I've always been told about Silverstone and in my experience racing here and everything else. And you might have a different experience, Sam, but it's turn 1 can be misleading, and especially at the start of the race, you might be more focused on what's going on around you and everything else. You come off that grid in these Skip Barber machines, you're already going kind of at a good clip when you hit turn one, and I've seen people overdrive it. So you have to be really careful, I think, especially at the start of this race.
Yeah, definitely. Lee Anderson will have his work cut out for him maybe a little bit because he just got bumped off the top row by Michael Haflidason. Again, still has a second over Thomas Kick, who's a new driver in fourth place. Yeah, I played Jeff Crammond's Grand Prix 3 for too long, Adam. That was based off a 98 Formula 1 season, so I'm still used to Cops Corner turn one. I don't think I'll outgo that for a little while. But you're right. At the end of the day, the goal's still the same at Silverstone. I mean, you get great racing going throughout the turns, especially with these not necessarily underpowered skippy cars, but cars that aren't too dependent on aerodynamics. We can have some great battles through the twisty portions of the circuit. But at the end of the day, the goal's always going to be the same, and that's to get a good exit out of a Beckett's complex so you can get a run down the Hannah Straight, because that turn into the Stowe has always been the best place to make a move.
That's right. And then you briefly talked about Michael Haflidason get in that second position, though. I mean, I tell you what, that's one guy that is really, really impressed me at times here during this season. I think he found his groove. He got off his groove for a couple of seasons. He's back on it, and that's going to be Michael Haflidason. So maybe he's going to try to make some waves here for today in the final round. But see, qualifying, the time clicking away. We got Marcus Gastal on the screen right now. See what he's able to do. Lee Anderson will be coming across the line here in just a moment as well. Marcus Gastal right now sitting in 13th. I think he's going to be able to better that by about 2 seconds. Did it count? It did. All right, so that'll move him up to 10th position. Here's Lee Anderson. You can always spot him by that distinctive helmet that almost kind of looks like a skull face from a clown. I guess that's the best way to describe it, at least for me. But Lee Anderson, he's going to come across the line. He's going to go ahead and move Michael Haflidason off that front row and get himself within about 0.7 of a second to Greg Seitz. And yes, that does include the fact that he just set a fastest lap again. So Greg Seitz, I think right now he's got himself firmly locked into the pole. I don't see anybody else on track to be able to unseat him, but Christopher Giros might have a chance of moving up here. He just came across the line, didn't move up any spots. Edgar Sancinelli now on the screen. He's coming across. He just put down 29.7, so that puts him in 12th. Just behind him was Matt Tempest, who did not set a faster time. And seeing Dennis Rust now on the screen. See where he is at on track. All right, so Dennis Rust is in 15th position right now. His last time was a 2:32. See if he's able to better that here in a moment. He's definitely pushing hard. Looks good. Frederick Neptune's ahead of him. He's in 13th. He's coming onto the front straightaway now. So that's the car you see up there. Did not set a time. And Dennis Rust did not either. So that is going to be your grid right there. Marcus Gastal, I don't think came across the line in time to start a new lap time. So I think everybody else is just out there getting extra laps in. Could be wrong. Director, am I right on that? Yeah. Okay, so we think maybe now Marcus Gastal did get across the line in time. So we're watching his lap here. Here he comes. So last time by for Marcus Gastal was a 28.8. And that shaves off about 0.8 of a second off of that, and that doesn't improve his time. In fact, I actually don't think that one counted, so he probably picked up an incident somewhere. Lee Anderson, now we're also thinking, was able to get across the line in time here to set a new time here. And see if it's any better than what he's been able to do before. Yes, 0.2 of a second. That's not going to get him anywhere additionally, though. Greg Seitz did not set a new best time, and that is going to be officially it. So we'll go ahead and go to the grid, and with the limited amount of drivers here for today, we're going to go ahead and just go row by row between me and Sam. We got on their front row for today, both of them picking up bonus points, so they basically start back where they were before the thing started. Greg Seitz and Lee Anderson will make up P1 and P2.
Michael Haflidason third in the points, third on the grid, and he also picks up a bonus point for qualifying third. Thomas Kick will line up in fourth place alongside him.
Christopher Giros, Peter Huston, hey, they're going to be making up fifth and sixth.
Yeah, and then on the row behind them, row number 4, right in the middle of the field, are Matt Tempest and Josh Gray.
Podcheck, he's starting 9th, and always good to see him out here. Marcus Gastal will be running in 10th. 5.
Flick over to the next page. Driver stealing my number for this series is Christopher Cook in the number 63 car. He'll be starting 11th ahead of Edgar Santinelli, who left it until very late in the session to finally turn the time.
Yeah, Edgar Santinelli, of course, always famous for what he does in the All-Star race for the Absolute Beginners League, and he loves trashing pace cars. We'll leave it at that. Just wait for the new damage model. He'll probably trash some more. Frederick Neptune in row 7. Alongside him be Christopher Kane.
And then Dennis Rust wasn't able to improve on that final time, so he will start 15th place with a lap time 7 seconds off of pole. That sounds like a lot until you realise it takes 2.5 minutes for these guys to get around here. So, you know, you make a couple of mistakes, especially ahead of a long straight, that's going to cost you a couple of seconds.
That pretty much nails it. You slide just wrong here or there, and you'll see that time evaporate real quick. But one guy that's going to be looking to get off the grid real nicely here is going to be Greg Seitz. He wants to clear the field going into 1. Engines are revved up, and green lights all across the racetrack here at Silverstone. We are away for the final round of the Season 18 of the Absolute Beginners League, and the final race for the Absolute Beginners League here in 2019. And Lee Anderson is around. Does he make any contact? It said turn 1 going into Abbey was going to be tricky, and Lee Anderson just found out how tricky it was. He's going to go back to the end of the field.
Yeah, well, Greg was creeping over to the right side of the circuit all the way down on the run down to turn 1. They both knew what's up. They both knew their best chance to win the championship was to lead into the first corner. Now, Greg stopped coming over by the time they got to the corner. He gave Lee Anderson room, but Lee just had his steering wheel pinched a tiny bit too much, and it led to him going around. I'm sure we'll get a replay of it. We've still got some great battles going on in the middle of the field.
Yeah, Michael Haflidason moves him into 2nd. Thomas Kick into 3rd. Going back to 4th, Christopher Giros. And in 5th is Podcheck. But behind him, Matt Tempest getting a little wobbly as some of the guys behind him having to slow up to possibly avoid his car. But he's able to keep it straight and on the track. So your top 4 right now are pretty consistent, but hey, look at Podcheck. Started this race in 9th on the grid, and he is going to come around and pick up, I believe, didn't quite move him up just yet, but he moved up a few spots there. Lee Anderson, though, man, he's got his work cut out for him. Oh, Edgar Santinelli trying to go around to the back of the field. Dennis Rust almost spins to avoid him. That's going to give Lee Anderson a few more spots.
Yeah, 2 positions there for Anderson. He's got to try and work his way back up to the front just in case anything does happen to Greg. Of course, it's not easy right now, but it's easy to catch the drivers right now. Hard to pass them because they're all bunched together. From 8th on back, we got Podcheck. He's bunched up with Marcus Gresdal. In fact, they're going 3 wide with Matt Tempest there. Very crowded going on down the Hannah Straight, but you can do that in the Hannah Straight. These guys have got to sort themselves out by the time they get to Stowe, which they are doing now. Marcus Gresdal throws it in there, goes too wide, and if he spins, and he might, yes he does, that's going to give another position to Lee Anderson.
So Lee Anderson able to pick up a few spots by attrition so far, but he's got a hornet's nest in front of him. You can see him there going to the edge of the screen. That's going to be Matt Tempest. Ooh, and Podcheck actually gets into Matt Tempest a little bit. He's going to lose the tip of his nose. Actually lose all of his nose cover. There's debris on the racetrack. Everybody looks like they're able to get around it. Good thing that some of those front aerodynamic pieces are a little bit more cosmetic in nature than anything else. Otherwise, Podcheck would be in a bad way here to start this race.
Oh, this is what Lee Anderson doesn't want. They just went by Peter Houston. He's going very slowly. But Lee Anderson, I'm sure, would have liked these guys to have gotten themselves sorted out by the time he caught them. So right now he finds himself in the middle of a pack. He's ahead of Christopher Crook. He's behind Josh Brain. He's in 8th place overall right now, but clicking them off really quickly, trying to get back up front there. And it's... Look in front of him. That's 3 wide in front of him again. It's all happening.
Yeah, the noseless car of Hocek Podacek is in the middle of that. He's going to slide in front of Matt Tempest, who just a minute ago got into him. Frederick Neptune on the bottom of that row there. Hocek smokes the brakes, trying to get into the corner. He is able to get clear, so he's going to win that 3 wide battle. Frederick Neptune trying to come back on him, but he still has Matt Tempest to the inside. The one advantage, though, is that means Lee Anderson is catching those guys a little bit quicker. And now all 4 of them are going to be in the draft here. As now Frederick Neptune's going to get to the look of the inside of Hocek, as eventually they'll slide down to Abbey here in a moment. And he's going to be able to take that position back in the draft. Hocek is going to come right back on him. A little bit of an over-under. Matt Tempest has to slow up a little bit to keep from getting into the back of Frederick Neptune. Lee Anderson is now right there with them here. Now he's got a big battle right in front of him.
We'll see how respectful these drivers will be. They're racing Lee Anderson, of course, but they'll know that Anderson's mad and he's in a hurry to get back up to the front. Don't know if Anderson will be mad at Greg or himself. Doesn't really matter at that point. At this point, he's got to use his anchor productively and realize I need to get back up front. That's exactly what he's done so far. He's in 8th. He's looking for 7th on the inside of Matt Tempest. Unfortunately for him, those battles have been holding him up a little bit. The top 4 are kind of spread out far ahead of this pack of 4 cars. But if Lee Anderson finds his way by these guys, which is going to be easy to do because Frederick Neptune ran really wide right there, let's see if Lee Anderson can win the braking battle. Hard braking zone here. No, he can't. Okay, it might be okay. No, never mind. Frederick Neptune way too hot. Oh, it gets a little close on exit. But Lee Anderson in 6th place now. And Wojciech Podacek is P5 ahead of him as Frederick Neptune really close. Wheels almost together with Matt Tempest there.
And they fall back in line. We'll see how long that lasts. That has been the battle of the racetrack. Marcus Gasol wants to get involved. He's going to go ahead and slide in front of Matt Tempest now. Lee Anderson finally gets clear of that, and he's got Hocek Podacek.
Oh, Christopher Crook spinning behind him.
Looking at Crook. Yeah, he is back going straight here. Back up front, one thing that's really surprised me here so far has been the fact that Greg Seitz has not been able to run away from Michael Haflidason. In fact, Michael Haflidason here the last 2 laps has been able to gain back on Greg Seitz. So that battle for the lead might actually be shaping up as Haflidason's having himself a good day here so far early in the going.
Yeah, top 6 cars are all split into 3 packs of 2, and they're all 5 seconds apart from each other. So Greg and Michael are battling for first, 5-second gap, and we got Giros and Kik around in 3rd and 4th, and another 5-second gap back to Podacek and Lee Anderson. So, and here we go. We're going back to 6th place to see if Anderson can get that position.
See, once he is able to get clear of him, we'll go ahead and try to take a look at that replay of the start of the race. We'll wait for him to get clear. Lee Anderson right now has his sights on Hocek Podacek. Hocek does not have front body work after a little bit of contact earlier on with Matt Tempest under braking. No suspension damage, so he's been able to go just fine here. Look at the difference in lines between Lee Anderson and Hocek here right now. And he knows Lee Anderson's faster. He's working to coordinate the pass right now. So Lee Anderson should be able to get around him here without being contended for and try to set sail in the next couple laps, see if he's able to catch the likes of Kik and Giros. But he's got a long way to go before he gets there.
Yeah, I don't think that was Wojciech's choice of line there. I think he actually just overshot Maggots Beckett's and honestly almost overshot Stowe and got back into Anderson there. But let's see what put Anderson back here in the first place, Adam. To me, it looked like Greg tried pinching him into the first turn just a little bit too much, and Anderson had the wheel turned a bit too much, and that caused him to spin.
Yeah, I think this was the replay just a moment ago of Hocek. We're going to go back here to the start of the race in just a moment, getting that GSRC replay machine winded up. All right, so here's the start of the race. Everybody was able to get off the line itself pretty clean. And Sam, I'll let you talk everybody here through this one and what exactly you saw. You have the best analysis of it here so far.
Yeah, we caught them a bit early here gridding, but that's okay. You can get an idea of the anticipation that was building up between these two, and they knew exactly what was on. Greg crowded Lee Anderson all the way to the edge. I wondered how far he was going to go. Finally, Greg pulled back out wide, and I think Lee's mistake actually was he realized Greg did that and kind of pulled the wheel to the left to make a corner a bit wider, and I think he lost the stability of the car as he was setting himself up for the turn just a tiny bit too late.
And now back live here, and Lee Anderson has been able to go ahead and distance himself from Hocek and starting to gain ever so slightly on Kick and Giros, who actually Kick and Giros, let's go to that right now, is Kick, I thought for a moment was going to go ahead and try to sneak around Giros in the draft, but he pulled back in line. Of course he did. I wanted to go to it. I wanted to show the battle. Of course he's going to pull back in line here. I'm kind of wondering, too, if they know the situation behind him and realize that if we don't really stay nose to tail, if we start fighting, that's just going to be that much faster. Lee Anderson's going to be able to catch these guys.
Yeah, they've got 6 seconds over him right now, but we'll see how quick that gap disappears, if it disappears at all. Kick was struggling a couple laps ago. His car was sliding all over the place here. I guess he's finally got underneath him because he's looking for that podium spot.
And so far has a good chance at it. There he goes. Kick going to get a look at the inside here of Giros. He's going to be able to do anything with it, be able to finish the move. He's sliding, and he will not pull out in front of him. I think he has him edged out here just for the moment as they get ready to go through Vale and the club here in just a second. Down the front straightaway. Another draft opportunity. We'll see here if Giros is able to come back on Kick. You see Greg Seitz there going purple again. Fastest lap of the race so far. This is still the battle on the racetrack.
Yeah, I'm sure our viewers have noticed on the left side column that Michael Haflidason lost a lot of time to Greg Seitz last lap. I tried to go back and see if I could find out exactly how that happened. Didn't really see anything. He maybe got a slowdown penalty or something somewhere, but whatever the reason, Greg Seitz finally has a bit of a cushion.
Yeah, so that's what Seitz wants to see. He also wants to see these guys here fighting in front of Lee Anderson. Not so much that he's going to be able to catch them, but the simple fact is that if Anderson gets up to these guys and they're still fighting, it might slow Lee Anderson up some. As that time around, Giros is going to be able to get around Kick and actually slows Kick up a little bit on the exit of the corner. So that's not what those two want to see. They don't want to be slowing themselves up here that much.
Yeah, and they lost 2 seconds the last lap around to Lee Anderson. They both ran 2-minute 28, and Lee Anderson ran a 2:26. For reference, our race leader Greg Seitz also ran a 2:26. So Lee Anderson has a leader's pace. He's just 12 seconds behind him. Yes, they do have a pit stop in the middle of the race, but I'm not sure you can make up 12 seconds that way.
You wouldn't be able to make up 12 seconds, but we have seen things happen on pit stops here before where there have been some longer pit stops and all that. So we'll have to see how things play out. Now, also, and Sam, you might have a little bit more experience with it. I know you got a lot more open wheel experience than I do. And this car here at Silverstone, you're on the throttle a lot. So how critical is it going to be to make sure that you get just the right amount of fuel in this thing?
I'm sure it's going to be critical due to the fact that it's a large track, so you're going to be burning a lot of fuel each lap, and also you don't necessarily know how many laps this race is going to be due to it being a time race. I'll tell you what, we have a pretty neat race going on right now for 7th place between Marcus Grestral and I think he's just gone by Wojciech Polacek. Yeah, he has, but Wojciech is all over the back of him still. It's one of the closest battles we have on the track right now.
Seemed like once Lee Anderson got clear of Hocek, started not putting down the lap times that he was earlier on. And you see Greg Seitz there going 25.6 now. That's the fastest lap of the race. But Marcus Stahl and Hocek still going at it. Hocek still in the draft there. Another guy that's still in the draft, you still got Kick and Gyros here going at it too, and Lee Anderson. You can see all that happening in front of Lee Anderson right now, so continue to ride on board with him. These two right there, I think they're both so equal in speed that this could actually be interesting for Lee Anderson to have to try to fight his way around both these guys.
Yeah, Lee Anderson would have been grateful so far that these two have been battling each other. That would have made him catch them faster. Now he wants them to spread out a bit, and that was a late move there by Thomas Kick, but he made it work. It wasn't too late. Christopher Gyros was able to see him coming, gave him the turn, but is right back on his tail. But yeah, this is really not what Lee Anderson wants right now. He'd love these two to separate somehow, preferably not via a crash or anything, because then he'd have to drive his way through it. Now they're coming up to the Hannah Straight. If Gyros can hold Kick up here, and that's what he's going to do, passing him into this turn, that could cause them to back up a little bit in and give Lee Anderson a slipstream. And the reason I think these two are battling so hard is because they don't want to be the first one passed by Anderson. So Gyros has just passed Kick again, and Kick very deep into Maggots, and that's going to cost him in Beckett. So I have a feeling here, I think we're about to see Lee Anderson make a move on that orange car.
Almost. I mean, that's he's right there. You got to figure at any point between now and when he actually gets around him, he is losing time. So look for that move to happen quick. He's going to try to pull out. Kick will try to defend a little bit, so Lee Anderson wisely backs out, but Kick also overdrives the entry. He's going to be sliding his way through there. Here comes Lee Anderson again. He's got a good inside look, but not going to do anything with it here. Still watching these guys still go at it. Gyros still leading this three-car train. Is Anderson have to get aggressive to try to get that position on Thomas Kick. Thomas Kick has moved down to try to defend. He tries to move back the other way to try to defend. Lee Anderson just can't figure it out. This is what we were talking about. These two guys being Gyros and Kick being so close in speed that Anderson might have a problem here. And so far that's shaping up, losing a ton of time.
Yeah, he definitely is. Oh, he might even try a 3-1 move down the inside there. He thought better of it. But they're coming out onto the Wellington Straight, and Thomas Kick has got a bad exit there. He can't take the apex because Anderson is there. So Anderson gets one of them. Kick is the first to fall. But here's the thing. I think that the way these guys have been racing so hard so far, Kick doesn't care that Anderson just passed him. He doesn't care that Anderson's going for the championship. Kick would like to get back up to third. He's late on the brakes. Almost gets into the back of Anderson there. Anderson is trying to set Gyros up meanwhile. I almost wonder if Anderson might not necessarily wait for the Hannah Straight. This is a passing opportunity they're coming up to here. The run down the old front straight into Copse Corner. Anderson using all the track to try and maximize his speed. You can see him... I don't know if they get slowed down the amount that he just cut the corner there. I doubt it, though. Can't make a move into Copse, so he is going to have to wait until the Hannah Straight.
And I'll be quickly approaching here in a minute as he's still sniffing it now. Gyros, if you remember our pre-race show, or if you're just joining us, he is second in the F2 standings and got a podium on the line here right now. That's what he's trying to hold off Lee Anderson for. And Sondre Engen is going to be your F2 Drivers' Championship, but he's also not here today. So at the end of this thing, if Gyros can just keep it up, it's going to be a lot of points and make that championship battle actually look pretty close, but he doesn't have a shot at that championship here this afternoon as Lee Anderson's going to finally, looks like, maybe get clear of him. Fights back a little bit on the outside, but that's going to be all she wrote here for that battle unless Gyros is able to do something in the draft, which it looks like he might try to do. And he tries to come back on the outside. Can't do it. He'll have the preferred inside line here. Start to lead on to the front straightaway in just a moment as now Lee Anderson is going to have his draft, all three of them back together again, as he's going to go ahead and have to try to make that move again. And here comes Thomas Kick. Thomas Kick lets off a little bit. He's going to try to follow Lee Anderson through now. Second there, I thought he might try to make it 3 wide. Thinks better of it. Lee Anderson cannot get back around Gyros.
Yeah, no, this is a great battle between these three right now. We've seen, obviously, I think that Anderson is faster because he's been able to run these guys down, but he's not able to break away from them due to the slipstream. So Giros continues to lead ahead of Anderson, ahead of a kick in this battle for third, fourth, and fifth. Ahead of all this, Greg Sykes continues to lead Michael Haflidason. Those two are long gone. And honestly, barring disaster, the championship is pretty much over. So Lee Anderson, though, has got to still be careful. You know, as it gets very close to Gyros. I don't know how much I'd be doing that. We see some pit stops taking place further back here, and this might not be a bad idea for Anderson, honestly, to get out of the danger of all the cars he's racing around and take a pit stop. Because I don't think he's going to win the race at this point. I think he'll get, third or second or something. And here he goes. One more move on Gyros. The worst thing he can do is throw it away because to retire, because if Greg Seitz retires for whatever reason, I think Anderson would still be in a good position here to be able to win the championship. But right now, he's just putting himself at risk racing around these two because they seem determined to race him. And it's great fun for us, but when you're racing for a championship, I don't know how much of this you want to be doing.
Yeah, he's already lost about 4 seconds on there. So coming down pit road may not be the worst strategy, especially you can try to pass him on pit road is what we always like to say. And that's because, he comes in now, he sets back faster lap times. When he comes back out, then they will. And ultimately the difference is that he gets around them. And so right now, fighting these guys, I think is just costing him more time than what he wants. As he looks like he might get clear of Gyros here. It's going to be close to go by pit entry. See if those guys are able to come. Ooh, actually, Thomas Kick almost gets into the back of Gyros, has to lock up the brakes to keep out of them. So that battle there might finally be done. We'll see.
I don't know if that was intentional, but that was all due to the position in the Anderson's car. The way he positioned it, Gyros had to jump on the brakes to not jump onto Anderson, and then Kick had to jump on the brakes to not slam into Gyros. By doing that, they all killed their momentum, and Anderson was able to pull away a bit.
Yeah, so Hocek coming down pit road. Still missing that front body work. I don't think they'll have time to put anything additional on the car here. It's just going to be a standard pit stop, but we'll have to see where he comes out. This is a little bit past halfway now in the race, about 30 seconds past halfway based on the time, and probably close to it. But Kick and Gyros going back at it. Kick now underneath Gyros. Looks like he'll complete the pass here, as Lee Anderson is going to be setting themselves up into the sunset as he continues to pull away from these two. We were talking earlier on, Sam, that Michael Haflidason was doing a great job staying with Greg Seitz, but here over the last little bit, I mean, he continues to drop back, now almost 10 seconds off the leader. Greg Seitz, I think right now is just in a position where he could probably start letting off a little bit and just kind of playing it safe.
Yeah, Greg Sykes definitely, without any drama, he is a driver who will most likely win today's race and subsequently win the championship. Lee Anderson, I think, might be able to get second for Michael Haflidason if he's able to catch him, which I think he might be able to do that. Michael Haflidason was handling with Greg Sykes very well for the early few laps. And then whatever happened, I don't know, around lap 4 or 5 or so, that cost him a couple of seconds. As soon as he lost that slipstream, he's just been dropping back from him quite rapidly. The battle for fourth place is continuing between Kick and Gyros. We also have a battle for seventh place going on, 2 blue cars at the back of the picture here.
And that'll be Christopher Kane and Matt Tempest, who we've seen a lot of Tempest here today. He's okay, first of our front runners to come down pit road. That's gonna be Christopher Gyros. Marcus Gastal also coming in behind him. So this is key for those guys. By the way, you mentioned if something were to happen to Greg Seitz, and obviously don't want to put any kind of curse on him or anything like that, we have had no retirees from this race yet. All 15 cars are still on the track, so that's very important to note, that despite a few incidents, everybody is still out there turning.
Yeah, Frederick Neptune is down the lap. Not entirely sure what happened to him. He does have a little bit of front wing damage right now. So there's Christopher Gearros getting his stop done with. I mentioned right before that he was in a battle with Thomas Kick, and that battle was broken up with him coming into the pits. We've also got Gredstall, I believe this is. Yep, Marcus Gredstall coming out of pit road. You've got to be a little bit careful of what's coming up on your left side when you exit here. You might end up in a battle into the next corner.
And that's kind of like what happened with Marcus Gastal right there and Josh Brain. They come out side by side, and he's having to fight. So sometimes you don't want that to happen, but they're able to stay off each other at least. Looking now, here it is. That's actually the battle I believe we were just talking about with Josh Brain here. Josh Brain was running in, I believe, 12th position before pit stop started. He's gotten himself up to 10th here. He's running 27th. So he's going to have he's going to let Marcus Gastal have the inside here. Marcus Gastal should, now that he's clear of him, start to pull away. But as usual, draft might be a little bit of an equalizer here. We'll see if Josh Brain's able to come back to him, or if he just kind of lets him go a little bit. Right now, I'm kind of leaning toward possibly him just kind of letting him go, as Josh Brain will still have to make his pit stop here before too long. He did already stop. Okay, yeah, so we must have missed that. So great. So this is an actual battle on the racetrack for position then. So that's big. We're also hearing our leaders are coming down pit road. Here comes Greg Seitz, Michael Haflidason, not far behind him.
Yeah, all four of our leaders, Greg Seitz, Haflidason, Anderson, and Kick also into the pits. Of course, Kick will be looking to battle Gearros on the exit. Anderson will be looking to try and get a faster pit stop and Haflidason and see how close he can get to battling him for second.
Yeah, we're going to be watching Christopher Gearros here and seeing where he comes out, because that could potentially be a battle. Seitz is pulling out, getting back onto the racetrack. So his lone stop for today is complete. Gearros, I'm watching Gearros right now, and he is pushing hard and might actually be losing time. He's pushing so hard. Michael Haflidason coming back out. I think he actually probably lost just a little bit of time. Lee Anderson now back out on the racetrack. And he actually gained time, I believe, in Haflidason there. So good for him. Gearros coming down the front straightaway. Heading into turn one. He's got Kick right in front of him. And lo and behold, they're going to come out right next to each other once again. So Thomas Kick and Christopher Gearros, that battle will resume between those two.
Yeah, working their way down the Wellington Straight already. So Gearros is going to get a little bit of a slipstream of Kick. So as you mentioned, this is pretty much resumed right where it left off, with Kick ahead of Gearros, but thankfully for Lee Anderson, far behind him, so they're not racing for third place right now. And of course, with the leaders pretty much finishing the pit cycle, this is all four positions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no one in front of them yet to pit.
This is one of 3 battles on the racetrack right now. The other one going back for 7th and 8th, that's going to be Josh Brain and Marcus Gastal. So one to keep an eye on as you're looking at those two getting back in line after being side by side. And also back in 12th and 13th with Peter Huston, and trying to see who he's racing now. It's Christopher Kane, as Peter Huston kind of locked up in his drive. So 3 battles on the racetrack right now, with this being the one for the highest position between Kick and Gearros. Kick on the inside here is go through the S's. Are they going to be able to get through? This is not typically a place you want to go side by side, and they're able to pull it off as Gearros is going to kind of slip in behind him here. Kick is just sliding through there. He's going to lose a lot of time. Gearros is going to come right back on him. I'm watching in replay mode. That happened about 30 seconds ago. So now it's right in the line. Woo. You know, I always, whenever I do the weather and stuff, I mess something up. I call it live TV. I guess this is pretty much the same thing. So Those two, just goes to show, though, these two have been tooth and nail, will continue to be tooth and nail here for a little bit.
Yeah, and here behind them is Gresdal and Brain racing for 6th and 7th place, I believe. Yep, once our time and scoring cycles through, you see the live timing on the left-hand side of your screen now. And what's interesting about this is if these two don't battle too hard and Kick and Gyros continue to do what they've been doing all race long, we might end up having a four-way battle for 4th if these two can behave and see their long-term reward.
I have to see. I mean, it's a matter, especially with Gyros and Kick. I mean, they're still going at it tooth and nail here, costing each other a lot of time. But I think if these two were able to get up to them, yeah, that would be a tremendous battle here to end this race. But time is running out to see something like that. We are now approaching 11 minutes left as Stahl picking up a little bit of dirt there and throwing it Josh Brain's way, maybe just trying to get some in his eyes or something, so he's kind of blinded. But go back up to Kick and Gyros here is once again going side by side somewhere they shouldn't. Now getting back in line as they go toward the front straightaway. Gyros, I think, is going to have a pretty good run here in the draft. Cutting that corner just a touch. Gyros with a great run. Kick's going to try to defend and stick to the inside. It's going to make Gyros go the long way around. Gyros kind of breaks a little bit early, tries to slip underneath Thomas Kick, and is able to get underneath him. He's going to be able to complete that move. Back to the outside and the inside here through the S's. Yeah, still side by side. Finally, Gyros is able to edge in front, but with the way these two keep going back and forth, that's, I don't think we've seen the last of this battle.
No, and it just helps Gresdal and Brain run them both down. Now, of course, these two are proving that they're tremendous drivers. They might make the odd mistake here and there, but to have battled as hard as they've done and to have slid as much as they have and not hit each other so far, that's saying something. They must have a lot of trust and respect for each other. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but so far it hasn't happened, and we've had a good battle. Another good battle on screen right here, a little bit further back in the field, but a good fighting nonetheless.
Yeah, this is one of those three battles with Huston and Kane here. Huston right underneath Kane's gearbox. Almost seemed like he was trying to push him a little bit, but just right nose to tail here, wasn't able to make a move, so he's going to wait and be patient about trying to make that move. Just to kind of go back over the battle, well, not really a battle, but the gap between our podium, particularly between Haflidason and Lee Anderson. Lee Anderson's been able to pull back up to, pull back a second. It was 9 seconds back. It's now back to about 8 seconds or so back, 7.8 there on your screen. And with that, at this point, I'm going to have to say that Lee Anderson's not catching him fast enough. So we'll keep an eye on it, see if things change. But right now, that's going to be what my gut is telling me about those two.
Yeah, I think Greg Sykes might have seen Senna recently where, he had that turning point of the 88 season where Ayrton Senna crashed at Monaco where they told him to slow down because he was dominating so much. And then Senna, after that, always said, I'm always going to go flat out because otherwise I open the window for mistakes. That seems to be Greg's approach to this race because he is still running 224s out there, even though he's absolutely dominating the race and has no reason to continue to push the elements. But he's going to keep doing it because that's how he races. That's what makes him comfortable. And that's what's got him 3 wins in 4 races so far this season.
Yeah, and I'm going to get, and in that same regard, I'm going to get up on my soapbox a little bit here while we got a moment, and that's exactly right. It's you talk about sometimes games and stuff like that where people will quote unquote run up the score. Sometimes you do all you can, and you can't. The worst thing you do is tell somebody to back off because the hardest thing in the world is getting to go hard again if they have to, or hard again the next game or the next race or something like that. And right there is why you don't let off. And that's what Seitz hasn't been doing at all today. I mean, he's still out there setting 25s. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him setting 24s by the end of this thing.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Kick and Gearville's collide by the end of this thing.
Right, they've been going, yeah. A little bit of a gap now, but we've seen that gap before.
There's a bit of a gap.
Within a second. Yeah, there's a bit of a gap because of what happened just a moment ago.
Yep.
And I would say it's worth going back and looking at, but it's not the same thing that we haven't seen already about 10 different times between these two. Just one of them being behind each other, cooking it a little bit too much and almost running in the back. But that gap will close right back up within about a half lap. And indeed, we're already seeing that happening here. This time around, though, it's Gyros in front, Kick back.
Yeah, let's put it this way. Thomas Kick should be very glad right now that iRacing doesn't have flat spots.
It's coming, though. Got to get used to it. Oh, here's a good one. Peter Huston and Christopher Kane. Kane just now getting back around Huston. Huston had gotten back around him for a little bit, and they were running pretty nose to tail just a moment ago. We'll go ahead and take a look at the replay here of the pass. And this is for 12th and 13th, but still these guys going hard, deserve to be shown again. And just preferred line into the corner. We're going to run side by side. Once again, we've seen guys run side by side through some of these portions of the track. I wouldn't necessarily want to run side by side, but looks for the over-under. He's going to get it, has a good run. And eventually here, going down the front straightaway, once they make that corner, he'll be able to complete that pass with just that power off. That power off still meaning everything between those two. But just now, while we've been watching the replay, Kane now back around Huston, just about the same part of the track. So Huston having to look again, trying to repeat that. Can't quite do it, so he's going to slip back into the draft. And we'll see if he'll take another shot at it here. Next quarter or two. I don't think he has the best position just yet. But Josh Braino and Marcus Gastal, we go up to that one. Those two are side by side.
Yeah, and if these two keep this up, they'll have to watch their mirrors because Wojciech Podolczyk and Matt Tempest in the battle not too far behind them. And Gresdal winning this one right now.
Seems like there's battles everywhere now here toward the end of the race, except for your podium, who are very much spread out. Everybody else, though, having to fight for their position on the racetrack.
Yep, 4th and 5th, 6th and 7th, and 8th and 9th, all in their own two-car battles, and then one for 11th and 12th as well. So make up, what, 4 battles?
And we got to look at Hocek and Podolczyk here. Matt Tempest now all over the back of Podolczyk. Going to back off of him a little bit. Earlier on, they had a little
and one
contact.
of them finally ended in tears. Huston and Kane have collided, and Kane's in the wall. Huston, parts have fallen off of both cars. I think they're both out of it.
And they collided on the front straightaway, no less. Suspension damage on the entire right side for Peter Huston. And yeah, that's going to be the end of both of their days. Now, that's key because if something were to happen here in the last lap or two of this race, because literally only have 3 minutes on the clock left here, that is two spots now that are gone out of this race. So that means the furthest that Seitz could fall would be 13th. So I don't think that's going to come into play. If it does, we'll worry about the math then. But right now, riding on board Josh Brain. Now we're going to switch back over to, I believe this is Kick and Gyros. They're going back at it once again. Kick all over the rear gearbox of Gyros.
And Seitz
now side by side. Looking to the outside of him again.
Yeah, the reason this was getting dicey, Sites just started the final lap ahead of oh no, sorry, I misread the clock. 2 laps to go. So, a
Ooh,
bit, a lot
Kick
of
hits
curb,
the
yeah.
sausage curb a little bit. He's gonna lose. Yeah, he's gonna lose the position to Gyros. He's back on the throttle though. See if he can get back to him here on down the front straightaway. And the cops, not sure. Not able to do anything with him there.
Yeah, so those two just crossed the line to start. 2 laps left to go in that battle. So that's why these move. If the racing hasn't been aggressive for you enough already, which it should have been, it's about to get even more intense. And who knows if that means, unfortunately, we might see more Husting Kane collisions. Hopefully not. But it's still plenty of battles left to be resolved in just a couple minutes here at Silverstone.
Yeah, right now, minute 30 left on the clock. I'll just look ahead here. We don't need to go to it just to see where Sites is on the racetrack, and he'll get one more lap here for Sites. We got a little bit here between for these guys to finish up. So coming to the line here, it's going to be 2 to go for Kick and Gyros, and here in a moment, Podacek and Tempest. All these battles getting ready to face their conclusions. Looking at Sites, all by his lonesome out there.
Yeah, now he's working his way through the final complex. So, yeah, he'll be getting the white flag this time by with about half a minute left on the clock.
All right, so want to bring attention to something here because there's an outside chance it could happen. But with the rate that Lee Anderson right now is catching Michael Haflidason, we could have a battle for second. And if we do, it's going to be right at the line. So we want to be paying attention to that. Still the battle on the racetrack, though, is between Gyros and Kick.
Yeah, I think that's an outlier for Michael Haflidason his last lap. It almost looks like he made a mistake, but to your point, Adam, as he gets back in the 226s now, he can't afford another one because he made a mistake. He lost 3 seconds to Anderson. He should be able to run lap times that will keep him in front of Anderson. But one more mistake, like whatever he just did, and also a mistake he made earlier that cost him a couple seconds when he had been hanging on the Greg Sites, and he will lose that second place.
Yeah, it still might be close here, but Greg Sites, we'll go ahead and give him his due. It's been a shortened season 5 with the holidays. Usually happens this time of year for the Absolute Beginners League. Only 5 races, but the man that has won 4 of them and the man that is going to bring home the championship here for season 18, Greg Sites. He is going to take the crown here for today, going back to second and third. It doesn't look like Lee Anderson's going to be able to get back up to Michael Haflidason, although you can see him off in the distance. So Michael Haflidason coming home with a second place finish. Lee Anderson will be following just a few seconds behind him in the third position. So that's going to round out your podium. Thomas Kick and Christopher Gyros finally settled. Kick has enough of a gap between himself and Gyros that Kick is going to go ahead and get that 4th position over top of Gyros. So your top 5 Sites, Haflidason, Anderson, and Gyros. Kick, Gastal, and Josh Brain. That got settled out. Gastal's going to come home in 6th, Josh Brain in 7th.
Probably Adam, but that's the old start-finish line. Greg Sites is approaching the finish line now.
Oh man, no, Greg Sites. He's done.
Here he is at the final turn.
Yeah. So there we go. That's going to be it.
Yeah, don't see any positions changing hands, so think you called it out right. If anything, the battle you didn't get to, the battle for 8th, is still up for grabs. They're going on down the back straight.
We'll go take a look at that here as Hocek and Matt Tempest still going at it. Hocek has been going the entire race without his front body work. And I think he's going to have enough here where he's going to be able to hang on to Matt Tempest. His Tempest tries to dive it in. That's ultimately going to be what costs him enough time here to where he's not going to be able to get back to Hocek. Although he'll try to make a run of it here down the front straight, but nothing's going to be there. So that is going to be just about it as far as any kind of positions on the racetrack. Is the post-race demolition derby already beginning to take place back there. So with that, we'll go ahead, take a break. We'll come back and we'll put a wrap here on Season 18 of the Absolute Beginners League. Welcome back to Silverstone, where I'm pretty sure we're not the first group to get the mix-up between the old start-finish line and the new start-finish line, but it didn't change anything as far as your running order, because with 15 cars in the field, we still had multiple battles going at the end of this, but one guy that only had to fight going into turn 1 on lap 1 to bring home the race and the season championship. Greg Seitz, he's going to come home P1. Michael Haflidason, I said it early in the broadcast, that's a guy that glad he is finally starting to kind of get back on the horse after a couple of seasons where he kind of looked like he was kind of down, but man, he's really come back this season. The races he's been able to make, he's coming home in second today. Lee Anderson in third, Thomas Kick in fourth, Christopher Giros fifth, Marcus Gastal in sixth position, seventh it's going to go to Josh Brain, Hocek in eighth, Matt Tempest in ninth, and Edgar Cincinelli coming home in 10th.
Yeah, still on the lead lap. We go back to Christopher Cook in 11th place and Dennis Rust in 12th place. So that's how far Greg Sykes could have fallen, even if he'd made an unforced error on the final lap. Frederick Neptune was just one lap down in 13th position. Then we get to the only two retirements who were both taken out in the same crash when Christopher Kane and Peter Hustin got together.
Yeah, and that was really late in the race. So very, very clean race for the most part. And it was just a tremendous fight here, and it kind of goes to show that at the Absolute Beginners League, if you're looking for a good league to come to and come racing, this is going to be the one. But here right now, we've got our champion and our race winner today, Greg Sides. Greg, I just 4 out of 5 races, you come in here and you just dominate. And I gotta ask you, like going into turn 1, lap 1, you kind of defended a little bit, and from there it was just you were just out to sail.
Yeah, the turn 1. Actually, my car registered a little contact, so I was concerned that I chopped Lee's nose off. I was actually almost thinking of kind of backing out and waiting for him, but looking at the replay, it was pretty clear. So I don't know why it registered a contact there, and I don't know if that's what caused him to spin. But yeah, I was actually kind of trying to play a conservative this race. Was my plan, especially with Michael behind me. I always worry when he's in the mix. But yeah, things worked out after that, and then I just kind of started to pull away once I broke the draft from Michael.
Well, I would say that you were taking it just a bit easy. You only ran one lap in the 24s during the entire race. Okay, 2 laps in the 24s the entire race. So that right there to me was probably taking it easy for you. So great season though. Out of the 5 races though that you ran this season, what's one that stands out to you?
I think the honestly the one before where we had trouble at the start and had to push super hard to try to catch up to Lee and cut him on the last lap, but couldn't get by him. That's kind of the most memorable one, because that one I think I had to work the hardest for. Even though I didn't end up with a win, it was a really fun challenge to try to close that gap to Lee, because Lee's not a slow guy by any means.
Go figure. The one that you don't win is the most memorable. I love it. I love it. I got to ask the question I think a lot of people are going to be asking. Are you going to come back next season when the ABL kicks back off in the beginning of the new year?
Yeah, I think so. And I think one of my buddies who's a really fast guy is looking at joining too, Edwin Valerino. So that should give me somebody else too to battle really hard.
All right, so maybe a 3, 4, maybe even a 5-way fight for the championship next year. I'm calling it now. We'll see if that ends up. Hey, Greg, congratulations, man, and look forward to seeing you here in a month or 2.
Yeah, me too. Thanks a lot, guys. It was great having you guys here to broadcast.
That was Greg Seitz, and Michael Haflidason joining us now, and Sam's going to catch up with him.
Yeah, Michael, congrats on the 2nd place finish, because I'm sure it was getting a little bit intense towards the end there.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, after Lee spinning in the beginning, which was very disappointing because I looked forward to having a fun race with him and Greg. I just took it slow, and then all of a sudden I noticed, Lee is almost right behind me again.
Yeah, you had a couple of laps where you lost a few seconds. Were you picking up slowdown penalties there, or what was going on?
Yeah, I was coming into the race pretty unprepared. I only had 1 hour practice session before the race, and so I didn't really know where the limits was. And 1 lap I got on off track, and then I knew I wasn't gonna catch Greg again, because throughout the whole season he has been the fastest guy for sure. And I want to say, Greg, congrats to the championship. You deserve it a lot.
Yeah, it's been impressive to watch him this season. But I'll tell you what, even though you weren't in any battles, it was impressive to watch your skippies out there today. You guys were sliding around a lot. How hard are these cars to drive at this circuit?
Oh yeah, it was for sure the hardest track and the car combination I've driven in a long time. And I, on the first lap, also thought I was going to spin a few times like Lee did. So it wasn't easy, not by any means. But since Barcelona, my only goal was just to grab as much point as possible and try to secure the team championship with Thomas, which I actually think we did.
Well, that's awesome to hear. Also great to hear that we had until 3 laps to go. A clean race throughout the whole field on the track that was so tricky for these cars. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Michael. Congrats on the second place finish. Congrats on the team championship, and well done for helping us put on the good show today.
Yeah, thank you for putting on the good show.
And with that, and nobody else up in the interview room, it's time for us to put a stamp here on the season 18. And it was a great season, lots of battles. Every race seemed like we had great storylines going on. Sam, do you have any final words here before we wrap this thing up?
No, I love the fact that this season was only 5 races long, Adam. Not because I was getting tired of it, but it's nice to see these short sprint championships where every race plays a huge difference in the outcome of the standings.
Yep, and that's one great thing I like about the ABL. We get one of these a year as they try to wrap things up before the holidays, really start to swing into action. So the Absolute Beginners League, we want to thank them for organizing the Formula Neagle Series and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. Thanks to companies, equipment, and software that you see on your screen now that we use on our broadcast. The original music that gives every GSRC broadcast that unique flavor and feel is thanks to June Lalonde. See the screen for how to contact her. The Absolute Beginners League, well, it's one of our favorites here on GSRC, and after a great season 18, you can tell this series is returning to prominence. Field sizes are starting to get better. Tracks, action out on the track has just been great, and we're going to hope that everybody joins us for season 19 that should kick off sometime after the holidays in the new year. On screen now are some upcoming broadcasts, so check those out and mark them down in your calendar. If you'd like more information about GSRC, including a complete list of future broadcasts, you can find it all at www.globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. And while you're there, if you haven't done it yet, become a GSRC YouTube subscriber by simply hitting the button on this YouTube channel. And before I forget, yes, GSRC has a store that you can go get t-shirts and tote bags that you can use for windsocks and all this other kind of stuff. Definitely check that out as well. Finally, on behalf of the entire crew, Sam, Sean, and Dougie, I'd like to thank all of you for watching as Craig Seitz wins round 5 at Silverstone and brings home the championship for season 18. We'll see you in a few weeks. In Soup's words, we're off to have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.